Hey everyone, welcome to Anime Octopus, where we dive deep into alternate anime realities and explore the untold paths of your favorite characters. Today's fanfic topic is a powerful twist on the Naruto universe. What if Naruko was trained by Tsunade from childhood? How would the story change if Naruko inherited Tsunade's strength, medical genius, and leadership from the start? Would the hidden leaf be the same? Would she? Disclaimer: the content on this channel is for entertainment and discussion purposes only. I do not own any of the anime footage used in my videos. All rights and credits go to their respective creators and copyright holders. Let's get into it. Hidden within the lush forests of the Land of Fire, the village of Konohagakure stood strong and proud, its tall walls shielding it from the threats of the outside world. The sun peeked over the Hokage monument, casting golden light onto the village streets, where early morning chatter had already begun. Vendors prepared their stalls, shinobi darted across rooftops, and laughter echoed from the academy grounds. But today was different, for today, a legend was already beginning. In the quiet chambers of a small home tucked near the training grounds, a young girl with sun-kissed blonde hair and sky-blue eyes was already awake. Her name was Naruko Uzumaki, and she was no ordinary child. Born on the night of the Nine Tails attack, Naruko carried within her the powerful spirit of the beast, sealed by the fourth Hokage himself. But unlike the lonely path that Naruto once walked in another life, Naruko's fate took a new turn the day Tsunade Senju, the legendary sucker, the Slug Princess, the last of the Sannin, decided to take her in. "Alright, Naruko," Tsunade said with a warm but stern tone, adjusting the girl's stance with a gentle hand. Chakra control isn't just about pouring energy out. It's about balance. Precision. Naruko's small brow furrowed. "But it's hard. It's like my chakras doing somersaults inside me." Tsunade chuckled, crouching beside her. "That's because you've got more chakra than most jonin. But with that comes responsibility. And power. And someday, you'll use that power to protect people." The little girl's eyes sparkled. "Like you?" "No," Tsunade said, tapping Naruko's forehead with two fingers, smiling. "Better than me." And so began Naruko's life, not as the village outcast, but as the student of one of the greatest kunoichi the world had ever known. Chapter 2, Petals and Promise. Under Tsunade's watchful eye, Naruko's childhood was filled with more than just tough training. She learned about herbs and medicine, how to stop bleeding with a few quick seals, how to apply pressure to ease pain, and even how to throw a punch strong enough to crack boulders. Yet despite her talent, Naruko wasn't just muscle and medicine, she was full of life. A prankster at heart, she once replaced Tsunade's hair serum with tree sap. It took a full week to untangle. "Why, you little?" Tsunade roared, chasing her around the compound as Shizune stood off to the side, trying hard not to laugh. But even as laughter filled the house, Tsunade never let Naruko slack. Every morning began with meditation. Then came chakra exercises, followed by taijutsu drills. By age 6, Naruko could already heal small cuts and sprains with her chakra. She could also knock out a grown man with a single well-placed punch. Still, no amount of training could prepare her for the loneliness that sometimes crept into her chest. She didn't know her parents. The villagers still stared a little too long. And deep down, she could feel something inside her, a roaring, restless presence. The Nine Tails. One night, after a particularly difficult spar, Naruko sat on the porch, looking at the stars. Tsunade joined her, 2 cups of tea in hand. "Sensei," Naruko said softly, "why do people look at me like I'm dangerous?" Tsunade was silent for a long moment. Then she placed her hand on Naruko's shoulder. "Because they're afraid of what they don't understand. But I see you. I see the girl who made me smile again. I see a future Hokage." Naruko smiled through misty eyes. "Then I'll become the strongest Hokage ever," she whispered. "And I'll protect everyone. Even if they're scared of me." Chapter 3, Academy Days, with a twist. By the time she entered the Ninja Academy, Naruko was already known for her strength. But instead of being bullied, she was admired. Even feared a little. Kiba barked in surprise the first time he saw her lift a desk one-handed. Shino adjusted his glasses. Sakura whispered to Ino, "Did you see that?" But not everyone was impressed. "Power without control is reckless," muttered Sasuke Uchiha during sparring class, dodging one of Naruko's chakra-enhanced punches. "Yeah?" Naruko grinned. "Then come control me, tough guy." Iruka-sensei sighed loudly. "Naruko, please don't destroy the floor again." Despite her antics, Naruko excelled. She passed written tests with Tsunade's tutoring, and her chakra control, once wild, was becoming razor sharp. While others struggled with tree walking, she was halfway up the Hokage monument. And while most students only dreamed of learning medical ninjutsu, Naruko could already knit muscle back together. It earned her a nickname: the Healing Hurricane. But her biggest lesson came one day after class, when she found a wounded bird under a tree. Its wing was bent, and it cried in pain. Without hesitation, she focused her chakra, hands glowing green. But no matter how hard she tried, the bird didn't fly again. She ran to Tsunade in tears. "I did everything right. I did the technique, I focused my chakra, but it still didn't work." Tsunade knelt beside her, brushing the dirt off her knees. "Sometimes," she said gently, "even when we do everything right, we still lose. That doesn't mean we stop trying. That means we get better." Naruko looked down at the bird, who now rested peacefully. Her tears stopped. "Then I'll get better." Chapter 4, The Copy Ninja. The wind rustled gently through the trees as Naruko waited on the training field, legs swinging off the log she sat on. Her forehead protector, freshly tied and gleaming, felt a little tight. Today was the day. Team placements. Her heart thudded with excitement. She had passed the academy with top marks, surprising even the instructors, but who her Jonin sensei would be was still a mystery. Beside her, two familiar figures waited: Sakura Haruno, focused and a little nervous, and Sasuke Uchiha, as cool and brooding as ever. Naruko leaned back on the log. "So, think he's late? Or just super dramatic?" "He's over 30 minutes late," Sakura said, looking at her watch. "That's beyond dramatic." Sasuke grunted, not looking up. "He's probably testing us." At that exact moment, the door to the training grounds creaked open. A man with silver hair walked in, one hand in his pocket, the other holding a tiny orange book. His headband slanted to cover his left eye. He radiated casual mystery. "Yo," he greeted simply. "I'm Kakashi Hatake. Nice to meet you." Naruko blinked. "That's him? The copy ninja?" Kakashi gave a lazy wave and blinked once. "Yup. That's me. Now, let's head up to the roof and get introductions out of the way." On the rooftop. "All right," Kakashi said, arms folded, back against the railing. "Let's go one at a time. Name, likes, dislikes, dreams for the future. I'll go last." Naruko hopped up first, hands on her hips. "I'm Naruko Uzumaki. I love ramen, training, and learning new healing jutsus from Granny Tsunade, Lady Tsunade. I hate people who look down on others. And my dream," she clenched a fist, "is to become the strongest Hokage ever. One who protects everyone." Kakashi nodded. "Strong spirit. I like that." Next came Sakura, her voice a bit shaky. "I'm Sakura Haruno. I like studying. I guess. I dislike mean people. And my dream is, to become a strong kunoichi." Kakashi nodded again. Simple, but solid. Then Sasuke, who spoke with calm conviction. "Sasuke Uchiha. I don't like many things. I hate weakness. My dream is to become strong enough to avenge my clan." Kakashi's visible eye narrowed just slightly. "Revenge, huh? That's a heavy path." "And you?" Naruko asked, tilting her head. "What about your dream?" "Me?" Kakashi closed his book. "I have lots of hobbies. As for dreams, I haven't really figured that one out yet." The bell test begins. The next morning, Team 7 met again, this time at Training Ground 3. "I only have one rule," Kakashi said, pulling out a pair of silver bells. "Get these from me by noon. If you don't, you go back to the academy." Sakura gasped. What? "There's 3 of us and only 2 bells," Naruko pointed out, narrowing her eyes. "Exactly," Kakashi replied. "That's the point." And with that, he vanished. Naruko's training kicked in. Tsunade's voice echoed in her mind. "Watch the signs. Listen for intent. Patience is strength." She closed her eyes and melted into the trees. "Don't rush in. Not yet." Elsewhere, Sakura tried to pair up with Sasuke, but he was already gone, stalking through the forest like a shadow. Kakashi, meanwhile, stood calmly atop a tree branch, flipping a page in Icha Paradise. A shadow crept behind him. With a yell, Naruko struck. Her punch landed, only for Kakashi to dissolve in a puff of smoke. Substitution jutsu? She growled. Fine. You want sneaky? Let's go sneaky. She retreated into the trees again and used a chakra suppression technique Tsunade had taught her, normally meant for medics in enemy territory. Her chakra nearly vanished from the senses. This time, when she struck, she nearly caught Kakashi off guard. His eye widened as her fist barely missed his jaw, slamming into the ground and shattering the earth beneath. That punch. He thought. That's Tsunade's technique. He leapt back, suddenly serious. You're full of surprises, aren't you? Naruko smirked. You haven't seen anything yet. Dash. The true lesson. In the end, none of them got the bells, at least, not through force. But when Naruko insisted on feeding Sasuke and Sakura while Kakashi wasn't looking, breaking his no food without bells rule, he finally appeared, arms crossed. You disobeyed me, he said. Naruko raised her chin. I'd do it again. Kakashi looked at them a long time. Then, his eye curved. Good. Huh? Sakura blinked. You pass. All three stared. This test was never about the bells. It was about teamwork. About choosing what's right, even if it means disobeying orders. He looked at Naruko in particular. You've got fire in you. Raw power. But it's your heart that's going to make you great someday. The Hokage Tower was quiet at dusk, painted gold by the lowering sun. Tsunade sat at her desk, surrounded by scrolls, reports, and half-drunk cups of tea. Shizune shuffled papers nearby, quietly organizing the day's chaos. A knock. Come in, Tsunade said without looking up. Kakashi entered, hands in his pockets as usual, his expression unreadable. He dropped a thin mission report on her desk, but Tsunade didn't touch it. Her eyes flicked up, sharp and expectant. Well? Kakashi took a breath. She's impressive. Tsunade leaned back slightly. Be specific. She's raw, yes. But her chakra control is well above Genon level. Her taijutsu is ridiculous. If she lands a hit, it's over. Reminds me of someone I know. His visible eye curved slightly. Tsunade didn't smile. And her temperament? She's hot-headed. But not reckless. She held back when she needed to, used terrain to her advantage. And she didn't fall for my illusions. She waited. Listened. That got a small nod from Tsunade. She even used medical chakra to suppress her presence. That's a tactic I've only seen field medics use. She's been practicing, Tsunade said, trying not to sound proud, but failing. She also broke the rules of the bell test, Kakashi added. Fed her teammates despite orders. Flat out defied me. Tsunade raised an eyebrow. And? She passed. Kakashi finally stepped forward, voice more thoughtful now. She's got your will. Your stubbornness. But she's not just a copy of you, Tsunade. She has something more. A softness. Compassion I didn't expect. That's going to be her greatest strength. Tsunade looked down at the report but still didn't open it. She didn't need to. Her fingers brushed the edge of the desk, and her voice softened. She was alone when I found her, you know. Covered in scrapes. Looked up at me like she didn't expect anyone to care. Kakashi didn't interrupt. I thought training her would be about control. About making sure she didn't explode under the weight of what's inside her. She looked up again. But maybe. She was always meant to shine. Even without me. She's going to go far, Kakashi said, turning toward the door. Just be ready when she passes you. Tsunade snorted lightly, but her eyes betrayed emotion. Let her try. As the door closed behind Kakashi, Tsunade finally picked up the report, but didn't read it. She set it aside and instead looked out the window toward the village below. Don't burn too brightly too fast, kid, she murmured to herself. You've still got a long road ahead. And down below, somewhere on the training fields, Naruko was already running laps, alone, after hours, punching the air, determined to get just a little better than she was yesterday. The sun was just peeking through the trees when Team 7 set out. The mission: escort a small merchant convoy to the border town of Kaguya, 3 days southeast of Konoha. A basic C rank on paper. Safe, quiet. Naruko was bored within the first hour. Come on, she groaned, walking backward in front of the lead cart. Where's the challenge? The excitement? We're just babysitting turnips. They're not turnips, Sakura muttered, glancing at the merchant's inventory sheet. They're spices. Expensive ones. Still smells like turnips, Naruko muttered. Sasuke walked in silence, alert, his eyes scanning the tree line. Kakashi brought up the rear, reading as always. Halfway through the second day, things changed. The trees thinned into uneven terrain, an old, dried riverbed, surrounded by cliffs. Sasuke tensed. I don't like this choke point. Neither do I, Kakashi said, closing his book. Eyes open. Naruko stepped closer to the cart's edge, instinct flaring. She reached for her kunai. That's when the first explosion tag went off. The lead horse reared, carts tipped, and smoke filled the air. Ambush, Sasuke shouted, already springing into the trees. Figures dropped from the cliffs, 5, maybe 6 bandits, masked, blades drawn. But they didn't move like amateurs. Too clean. Too fast. One charged at Naruko. She moved without thinking, chakra surged to her fists, and she slammed the ground, sending a shockwave through the rocks. The attacker flew backward with a grunt. Another came from behind. She pivoted, dodged low, then drove a palm into his chest. A green glow flared, chakra disruption technique, and the man collapsed, clutching his ribs. 2 down. Naruko called, grinning. Sakura guarded the merchants, pushing one behind a tipped cart while shielding another with a kunai. Sasuke took to the high ground, deflecting shuriken mid-air, his Sharingan flaring faintly. Kakashi had vanished. Then, a flash, lightning-style chakra, and the last attacker dropped unconscious, a single hit to the spine. Silence. The smoke cleared. Kakashi reappeared, completely calm. They weren't just bandits, he said, crouching beside one of the masked men. See this? He pulled aside the attacker's collar, revealing a faint tattoo, 2 crossed sickles. Rogue shinobi. Probably hired muscle. Someone knew the route, Sasuke muttered, eyes narrowing. Naruko knelt beside the man she downed. He's breathing, but chakra flow's blocked. I didn't hit too hard. Kakashi looked over at her, then down at the cracked earth from her first punch. You held back. That's good. Naruko exhaled, adrenaline still buzzing. Didn't feel like holding back. She glanced toward the frightened merchants. One had a cut on his leg, shallow, but bleeding. She was there in a blink, chakra-coated hands already at work. Hold still, she said gently. You're okay. The man stared in awe. You're just a kid. Naruko grinned. Strongest kid in Konoha. Kakashi made a mental note, she'd fought with restraint, precision, and care. When the smoke hit, she hadn't panicked. She'd protected, healed, and still landed the 2 most decisive blows in the fight. The rest of the journey passed in silence. The bandits were tied and left for an Anbu pickup. By the time they reached Kaguya, the caravan was intact, the merchants grateful, and Naruko's spirits were sky high. Mission success, she declared, arms behind her head. You did well, Kakashi said. Naruko blinked. That was high praise. Coming from him. She gave a lopsided smile. So, what's next? He looked at her carefully, then replied. Something tells me you're ready for more than border runs. Naruko slipped quietly away from the campfire's warm glow, her senses alert. The night was calm, but she couldn't shake the feeling that the ambush was more than just a random attack. Someone had planned this. She moved toward the edge of the clearing, careful to stay in the shadows. Her eyes scanned the ground, searching for anything out of place, footprints, broken twigs, discarded items. A faint trail caught her attention, a set of footprints leading toward a narrow path winding through the trees. Naruko followed, her heart pounding softly but her steps steady. The footprints were fresh, the soil still loose beneath them. She crouched low, examining the marks. They weren't made by bandits, too precise, too deliberate. Suddenly, a soft rustling ahead made her freeze. She pressed herself against a tree trunk, peering through the darkness. 2 figures emerged into a moonlit patch, a man and a woman, both wearing cloaks that concealed their faces. They spoke in hushed tones. Tonight's failure means we need to rethink our strategy, the man said, his voice cold. The woman nodded. Naruko Uzumaki surprised us. We underestimated her. The man sighed. Tsunade's influence runs deep. If she's involved, this will get complicated. Naruko's eyes narrowed. Tsunade's influence? What did they mean? She slipped back silently, already piecing together that this mission, and her attackers, were tied to something much bigger. Returning to camp, Naruko's mind raced. She had to tell Kakashi. This wasn't just about bandits anymore. It was about enemies lurking in the shadows, enemies who knew exactly who she was, and who her mentor was. Naruko moved swiftly through the camp, her footsteps light but determined. She found Kakashi near the edge of the firelight, crouched beside a small stream, still calm but alert. "Kakashi," she called softly. He looked up, the familiar lazy expression settling on his face. "Naruko. Something on your mind?" She took a deep breath. "I followed a trail after the ambush. I heard two people talking, planning. They mentioned Tsunade's name, said this mission wasn't random." Kakashi's eye flickered sharply. "Tsunade's name? That's serious. They called it a failure. And they're watching us, probably more than just bandits hired for an easy job." He stood, his demeanor shifting from casual to serious. "Good work finding that. This means we might be dealing with something bigger. Someone's trying to strike at Tsunade by targeting you." Naruko clenched her fists. "Then we have to stop them. Before they come back." Kakashi nodded slowly. "We'll alert the Hokage and the Anbu. But this is dangerous. You have to be careful." Naruko's eyes burned with determination. "I'm ready." Kakashi gave a rare, approving smile. "All right. Let's prepare. This mission just turned into something far more important." Naruko felt the weight of the night pressing in, yet her mind was sharper than ever. The realization that the ambush was no random bandit attack, but a targeted strike connected to Tsunade, set her heart racing with urgency and resolve. She followed Kakashi toward the Hokage's chambers, where shadows danced beneath the flickering torches. Inside, the air was thick with the quiet authority of the fifth Hokage herself. Tsunade looked up from her scrolls as they entered. Her eyes narrowed instantly when Kakashi reported what Naruko had uncovered. "Tsunade-sama," Kakashi began. Naruko tracked the attacker's retreat and overheard a conversation. "They mentioned you by name, calling the ambush a failure. This isn't just a simple mission gone wrong." Tsunade's face tightened. "I feared as much. There are forces in the Land of Fire that would see Konoha weakened by any means." Naruko stepped forward, her voice steady. "Who would want to target you through me?" Tsunade exchanged a glance with Kakashi. "There are old enemies, rogue clans, remnants of past wars, who resent the strength Konoha holds. If they strike at my students, they strike at me. But this feels different. More personal." Kakashi added, "We'll need to tighten security around the village and increase intelligence gathering. Anbu are already mobilizing." Naruko's fists clenched. "And me? What's my role?" Tsunade's eyes softened slightly. "You've proven yourself capable, Naruko. But this mission requires more than strength. You must learn to see in the shadows, to listen beyond the obvious." Over the next days, Naruko's routine shifted. Training sessions with Tsunade grew more intense, focusing not only on medical ninjutsu but also on stealth, chakra sensing, and mental discipline. Kakashi introduced her to new techniques, disguise, silent movement, and advanced genjutsu counters. The village buzzed with unease. Rumors stirred, whispered talks of spies and secret plots. Naruko's connection to Tsunade placed her at the center of a widening storm. One afternoon, while meditating in the quiet of the training grounds, a soft rustle caught her attention. Hidden behind a tree was a small piece of paper, folded and tucked carefully into a branch. Naruko unfolded it, eyes scanning the brief message. "Watch the shadows. Trust no one. The sickle strike is near." A chill ran down her spine. She knew that the sickle meant the rogue faction Kakashi had described. They were growing bolder, their plans accelerating. Naruko hurried to find Kakashi and Tsunade. Together, they began to unravel a web of deceit reaching into Konoha's highest ranks. The first clue led them to a once trusted advisor, now suspected of passing secrets to the enemy. Surveillance confirmed meetings with shadowy figures outside the village. Naruko, Sakura, and Sasuke were assigned to discreetly monitor the advisor's movements. The stakes escalated quickly. Naruko's skills, sharpened by Tsunade and tested by Kakashi, became vital. She navigated corridors of power and betrayal, uncovering a conspiracy that threatened the heart of Konoha itself. Naruko's heartbeat quickened as she crouched low in the shadowed alleyway near Konoha's outer wall. The evening air was cool and carried the faint scent of pine and distant smoke. Tsunade had entrusted her with a delicate task: meet an informant who claimed to have crucial information about the rogue faction using the cross-sickle mark. She checked her kunai quietly, the cold metal reassuring in her hand. Kakashi's words echoed in her mind: "Trust no one but your instincts and your training." From the darkness, a slender figure emerged, cloaked and hooded. The informant's voice was barely above a whisper. "You're Naruko Uzumaki, right? The one Tsunade trusts?" Naruko nodded cautiously. "That's me. You have information?" The figure glanced over the street before speaking. "Yes. The Sickle Group is planning something big, an attack designed to destabilize Konoha from within. They've infiltrated key positions, including the advisor you've been watching." Naruko's eyes narrowed. "How do you know this?" "Let's just say I have my reasons for wanting them stopped." The informant's gaze was steady, but something about their posture suggested a hidden pain. "They meet tonight near the old shrine outside the village. You need to be there." Before Naruko could ask more, the figure slipped away into the shadows, leaving behind a small folded map. Naruko clutched it tightly. This was her chance to prove herself, not just as Tsunade's student, but as a protector of the village. As she melted back into the darkness, she knew one thing: tonight, the real mission began. The night was thick with mist as Naruko approached the ancient shrine on the outskirts of Konoha. The shrine's stone lanterns cast weak pools of light, flickering through the fog like ghostly eyes. Every sound, each crack of a twig, every whisper of wind, seemed magnified in the eerie stillness. Clad in dark ninja gear to blend with the shadows, Naruko moved silently, her footsteps light as a leaf falling on a pond. Her heart pounded, but her training steadied her nerves. She knew the risk: if she were discovered here, alone, it could mean death or capture. But Tsunade's trust was a weight she bore proudly. This was her mission. Ahead, faint murmurs drifted on the breeze, voices speaking in hurried tones. Naruko pressed herself against the shrine's crumbling wall, peeking around the corner. There, in the small courtyard, stood three figures, cloaked and hooded, their faces hidden beneath shadows. One bore the unmistakable crossed sickle tattoo on the back of his hand, a symbol Naruko had come to fear. The leader. "We move at dawn," the leader said, voice low but commanding. "Konoha won't know what hit them." A second figure, a woman with sharp eyes and a cruel smile, produced a small scroll. "The council members under our influence are ready to act. Once the chaos begins, the village will fall apart." Naruko's fists clenched. The attack wasn't just physical, it was a betrayal from within. The third figure, younger and quieter, nodded. The informant was right. "We strike from the inside, and no one will be safe." Naruko's breath caught. This was the moment Tsunade had warned about, a conspiracy deep enough to shake the foundations of the village. Slowly, she stepped back, planning her escape to relay the information. But a twig snapped beneath her foot. "Who's there?" The leader's voice cut sharply through the night. Naruko froze. Shadows swirled as all three turned toward her hiding place. No time to run. Naruko stepped into the open, chakra flaring around her fists, eyes blazing. "You're going to regret this," she said, voice steady despite the adrenaline. The leader smiled darkly. "A bold little kunoichi. But no match for us." The fight erupted. Naruko's movements were a blur, jutsu flaring, punches and kicks landing with precision. She blocked a blade aimed at her throat, countered with a chakra-enhanced strike that sent one attacker crashing into the shrine's stone steps. The woman lunged with a poison kunai. Naruko twisted, chakra shielding her skin just in time. The third attacker grabbed her from behind. Using a release technique, Naruko expelled a burst of healing chakra, loosening his grip and turning pain to energy. With a quick spin, she slammed her elbow into his ribs. The leader circled, eyes calculating. "You fight well, but you can't win here." Naruko grinned, steadying her breath. "Watch me." With a surge of chakra, she summoned a shockwave that threw all three back. Using the moment, she retrieved the scroll the woman had dropped. Eyes scanning the cryptic symbols and names, Naruko's heart sank. The conspirators had mapped out Konoha's council, identifying every weak link and traitor. She dashed into the woods, shadow swallowing her as she vanished from the courtyard. Dash. Back in the village, Naruko burst into Tsunade's chambers, breathless but triumphant. "Tsunade-sama. They're planning an inside attack at dawn. They have council members on their side." Tsunade's eyes narrowed, jaw tightening. "This is worse than I thought." "We have the scroll," Naruko added, holding it out. Tsunade took it carefully, scanning quickly. "We must move fast. Prepare the Anbu and loyal guards. This night will decide Konoha's fate." Naruko looked at Kakashi, who had arrived moments later, his mask pulled down and eyes grim. "We'll need to strike before they do," Kakashi said. "Naruko, you led us here. Be ready." As preparations began, Naruko felt the weight of the village on her shoulders, but also a fierce determination. Tonight, she would fight not just for herself, but for everyone she loved. The moon hung low and heavy over Konoha as Naruko slipped silently through the village's labyrinthine backstreets, the stolen scroll burning in her pocket like a promise of justice. Every shadow seemed alive with whispers, every corner a potential threat. But her eyes burned with unwavering resolve. Ahead lay the heart of the conspiracy, the old abandoned manor where the mastermind awaited, cloaked in darkness and deceit. Naruko paused at the manor's broken gate, her breath steadying. The air smelled of damp wood and betrayal. Inside, footsteps echoed softly as a figure emerged from the shadows. Tall, composed, eyes cold as winter steel, the mastermind. "So, the little Uzumaki finally arrives," the figure said, voice dripping with mockery. "Tsunade's pet, playing hero. How predictable." Naruko's fists clenched, chakra humming. "Your plan's over. Konoha knows. The traitors will be exposed." The mastermind smiled, a chilling curve. "You think this ends with exposure? You're a child playing in a storm far beyond your understanding." Naruko stepped forward, eyes blazing. "Maybe. But I'm not afraid. Not anymore." With a sudden motion, the mastermind summoned a blade of swirling black chakra, the sickle mark glowing ominously on their wrist. Naruko's chakra flared around her fists, ready for battle. "Let's end this." The clash was fierce, lightning-fast strikes, chakra blades meeting fists, the sound of impact ringing through the empty halls. The mastermind's technique was deadly and precise, but Naruko's training and determination were stronger. She dodged a spinning sickle, countering with a burst of healing chakra that disrupted her opponent's flow. "You underestimate me," Naruko said, her voice steady despite the pounding in her chest. The mastermind snarled, charging fiercely. But Naruko was ready, a sudden flurry of kunai, a well-timed palm strike, and then a blast of shockwave chakra that sent the mastermind staggering back. Panting, Naruko pressed forward. "Your reign of shadows ends now." The mastermind, weakened but defiant, vanished in a swirl of smoke, but not before a cold voice hissed, "This is only the beginning, Uzumaki." Naruko stood alone in the silence, heart pounding but victorious. Konoha was safe. For now. Naruko stood alone in the quiet ruins of the abandoned manor, her breath coming in steady, determined bursts. The echo of the mastermind's final warning lingered in her mind, "This is only the beginning." But for now, the immediate threat had been halted, the conspiracy unveiled. Back in Konoha, the village was already stirring with news. Tsunade had acted swiftly, the traitorous council members were arrested or fled, the loyal shinobi strengthened their watch. The council itself was shaken but intact, their faith in the village's protectors renewed by Naruko's courage and sharp instincts. Tsunade found Naruko later that day in the training grounds, the afternoon sun warming the earth beneath their feet. "You did well," Tsunade said, her tone proud but serious. "You faced shadows most adults wouldn't dare challenge." Naruko smiled, but her eyes were clear. "I still have a lot to learn." "You do," Tsunade nodded, "but you've proven yourself beyond any doubt. Your journey as a shinobi is only beginning. This fight showed you the strength inside you, but also the responsibility." Kakashi appeared beside them, his ever-calm presence grounding. "You handled yourself like a true ninja. I'm proud." Naruko glanced between her mentors, feeling the weight of their faith in her. The battles ahead would be harder, the shadows deeper, but she was ready. Her first real mission had turned into a defining moment, a crucible that forged her not only as a warrior but as a guardian of Konoha. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Naruko looked out over the village she had sworn to protect. The path ahead was uncertain, but her resolve was unshakable. She was ready to face whatever came next. Naruko took a deep breath, the cool evening air filling her lungs as she stood atop the village's outer wall. The battle was over, for now. The threat had been uncovered, the conspirators unmasked, and Konoha's heart was safe once again. The weight of what she'd faced settled over her, a mix of exhaustion and quiet pride. She had stepped out of Tsunade's shadow, proving not just her skill but her courage and determination. The road ahead might still be fraught with challenges, but tonight, she had won. Turning away from the moonlit village below, Naruko felt a calm resolve wash over her. This was not the end, merely the beginning of a new chapter. With a final glance toward the stars, she disappeared into the shadows, ready to face whatever the future held. Dear YouTube family, that's all for today. If you enjoyed the content, please like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you so much for being here. Warm regards. Anime octopus.